Good day, listeners, and welcome to Early Days, the podcast celebrating the spirit of innovation and business acumen with the proud support of Prowse Chowne. Join us as we uncover the strategies, struggles, and successes of today's entrepreneurs alongside the experts who help them thrive. Collin Prince from Prince and Associates and the pride of almost Maidstone, Saskatchewan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're a Saskatchewan boy.
Well, as a lot of people may have as a claim to fame, I'm one of Saskatchewan's exports, one of my back in the teenage years. So yeah, I consider myself an Albertan. But I will cheer for the Rough Riders. That is a thing that I will do.
Okay, this show is over. No. Now, Prince and Associates is your company, which is a private wealth management firm, financial professionals. And it's funny, I asked you before we went to air, I said, so did you go to U of A? And you said, no, I went to the School of Hard Knocks.
Yes.
How did you get into this business?
Well, that's actually that's a story that not too many people know. But right from being out from back in Saskatchewan days, I can remember being 12 years old, and it was like an epiphany moment. I knew that what I wanted to do in life was I wanted to help people not be poor. I wanted to help people create wealth. I had no idea what that meant. But that was something that was impressed upon me, and that was, I guess, the beginning of the journey. Without maybe delving too much into the story, maybe you have more questions about that. But that was sort of my start. Is I wanted to do what I could to make sure that people didn't live a life of poverty. Okay,
at 12, I was throwing an intern at the St. Albert Curling Club. So I was curling. I wasn't thinking about helping others. So I do have to ask you that story because that fascinates me. So it was somebody who was living in poverty that you saw you didn't like?
Well, it wasn't that I'm not trying to say my youth was suffered in any way. I mean, everyone has a story to share, but it certainly wasn't from wealthy means. And I knew that there were people that had wealth and people that didn't have wealth. So I didn't look at it as something that was destiny. I looked at it more as something that was habit or choice. And at the time in the small town Saskatchewan where I lived, there was one gentleman who seemed to be the only guy who would wear a sport coat or what have you. And he was the town accountant that everyone had a lot of respect for. So I thought maybe that's what I wanted to be. Maybe I want to be an accountant. And then as life progressed and I found out more about what an accountant does, I thought, no, that's not what I want to do. And so as went through high school and so on, back in the 80s, he had a program in, and I don't know if they still have it or not, but you used to be able to have this thing called work experience through high school. And so one of the work experience things that I did was actually working at a bank. And so I thought, well, maybe this is where it is. Banks, that's where the money is. They must know everything there is to know about helping people not be poor and making them wealthy and so on. So I right out of high school, I got into a program for that, and to make the boring parts of the story more interesting, just to speed it up a little bit. I worked through some different programs within the bank and worked my way up into a management program. And after 9 years of being at the bank, I realized, this isn't the place either. And just limited as far as, I met a lot of great people. The bank has a lot of fantastic people there. But the format for helping people to do planning, to wealth creation, those sort of things, it just wasn't the right venue for it. And so then I made a change to come over. It was Investors Group at the time, back then. But so I made a few choices and transitions there to make some changes.
So when you go into financial planning then with IG Wealth Management, was there a huge learning curve?
There was. Now, I had taken some courses. The one thing, again, coming back to the banking, is that there is a lot of training that you can get through there. And so I'd taken some of the training. It was ironic that I take the training on what to do, but then wasn't able to do it applicable in the format in the branch level. So I'd had some of the training before, but I called up IG at the time and said, here's who I am. This is what I have. I'm licensed for these things. What do you got? And the guy on the other said, well, let's have a conversation. So they told us the format. And when I landed there, immediately I found out this is the place that gets it. This is the place that allows you to actually do, if what you want to do is financial planning, that's the actual place that allows you to actually do it. You got the time, you've got the tools, you've got the resources, you've got everything you need to pursue that avenue.
So one thing I found, and that's probably because you're out of the school of hard knocks. The one thing, as I was researching for this, now you have a quarter century of experience, but you have a knack for simplifying financial complexities, which is hugely important for people that are coming to you for help.
So I think that's one of the things that people sometimes feel that they sometimes they think that financial planning is more complicated than it really is. And so I like to break it down to its simplest basic functions as far as what are some of the good money habits that will help. And so I sort of somewhat position myself like a money coach and help people work with, okay, here's where you are, here's where you want to be, what sort of steps do we need to take in order to get to where you want to be? And we're not going to do all the steps in one day, but what step can we do today that'll get you 1 point closer to that destination? And for doing financial planning, it's something that it's a process. It's not something you do in one day. It's not, here's a financial plan, come back in 20 years and we'll see how you did. It's very much a hands-on. And certainly there's a lot of, sometimes it's psychological, sometimes it comes down to a belief. What do you believe about money? What do you believe would happen to you if you had it, or what do you believe would happen if you didn't have it? These sort of things. And so sometimes we work through some of those areas and just, removing some limiting beliefs, because I feel that that's probably one of the biggest things about it is what's people's emotional quotient with respect to finances and what will happen with it to you, what would happen to you whether you have it or not.
So I think those types of strategies then puts them at ease, going, oh, okay, so this is it's what I want, and you have to have, I guess, the short-term goals. Sure, here's what your long-term goal is. This is what you want your retirement to look like, but you've got to be pivoting probably throughout the ensuing years. So that's what you're helping them walk through. Is that right?
Exactly. Sometimes it's helping people make wise decisions. Sometimes it's helping prevent them from making poor decisions. And so I like to, I'll use a few different analogies. Sometimes I feel like I'm a financial dentist. Come in for a checkup every 6 months. What's happened in your world? What's happened in the world on the financial side of things? What things do we need to make change? What little directional changes do we need to make and to keep ourselves on course?
With just the recent panic this week at the stock market, do you get people that call you and say, "Oh my God, is the sky falling?" Or
I will say I get less of that because I've trained my clients already for things of that nature, and I'm a graphaholic. I study market charts, graphs, and to the point where it's actually kind of interesting because I find out from people whether they like graphs and charts real quick. But I try to make it interesting for them. So now I have some clients that say, well, show me the graphs, show me the charts. I'm like, okay, that's the appropriate response. Now we can have some fun. But what I feel people resonate with that is that it helps to calm down some of the uncertainty that happens because of a short term, something like that. It can be fearful because you're like, something happened. What happened to me? Am I okay? Right? Or where you look at it from a historical context and you say, yeah, you know what? This is just a little bit of wind blowing. It's not a storm. It's not something that's going to knock my house down. It's just a little bit of rain on the window. So it's all putting it in perspective with that. So I have a much less of that response with folks because again, I let my clients know that I'm the one that's worried about your retirement plan. And if I'm not worried about your retirement, you shouldn't be either. So let's just put it in perspective. And so for the most part, people have a much more calm effect. And again, that's what I want to be able to deliver for my clients, is to provide them with some peace of mind that things are okay, regardless of what sort of storm might happen, you're still on track.
So with you joining Investors Group at the time, which is now IG Wealth Management, so you started your own Collin Prince and Associates. So how does that evolve when you're working for a financial institution like that? Yeah,
so that sort of became part of an internalized process that through you kind of had to earn it, I guess, to put it in that context. So there's a certain, once you've achieved a certain level and you're doing a certain amount of, I guess, planning and looking after clients and so on, then that's a door that you can pursue as far as getting your own trade name and putting your name out there. So it's Prince and Associates Private Wealth Management under the banner of IG Wealth Management. in that aspect. So,
what was integral to growing that part of the business then once you've achieved that goal?
What was
So what's if there had to have been a way that, okay, you've got to this level, so then you probably grew that from there. So what tactics did you use, what strategy to grow Prince and Associates?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that I, so the vision that I had was, and long ago, and you sort of have to, grow into that vision, is I wanted to establish a team of professionals within, so Prince and Associates, the associate side. I guess in order to be associate, you need to have some of those people. And who were they? Well, I wanted to have people on the team that had skills that were complementary to mine. I knew what my strengths are, I knew what my weaknesses were, or the gaps, to use that context. And I thought, whatever my gaps are, someone else is good at it. So I want that to be those areas. So I didn't go looking for an associate just to fill in a position. I said, I need someone who has this skill set, who can do this, who can do that. And so, for example, one of them was one of the members of my team, Adam. He's a CPA, stole him from a major accounting firm here in the city. And so now I can deliver a little bit more complex tax planning strategies for clients who are in the business, who are business owners. So we've got that in-house. Now, IG Wealth also has a full level of tax and accountant lawyers, all the that professional level of planning, so I can second level this. But I wanted to have it right up my right arm. So I have that. I also have another associate, Amy, who's she has a master. She has more letters behind her name than she has in her name, and so like the Henry Ford approach: hire people smarter than you, and they'll make you look good, right? So that's a little bit of the approach there. So she has a master's in finance, and she helps more on some of the technical skills within planning and that sort of area. So we're all knowledgeable within it. We have a general knowledge of everything, but then there's also a level of expertise that everyone sort of takes a like leadership position in. So
how big is your team now?
So we have 6 on the team. So besides myself, I have my wife Sherry. She's on the team as well. She leads a lot in the area of marketing, but also with some of our charitable and philanthropic areas. So we were part of the Lois Hole Hospital for Women, the Harvest Gala. We're co-chairs on that. Sherry's head up Women in Money, Women Health and Wealth. She has her own sort of annual, it's kind of taken on its own life now, our annual Women Health and Wealth event that we do, bring in a panel of specialists and women. I only get to go up to the door, I greet people, and then I have to leave. I don't know what goes on back there, but they come out happy, so it's all wonderful. So she joined the team back in, she came on in 2016, but joined the team in 2017. I didn't want to hire my wife. I let someone else do that, and if it worked out, then I'd bring her in. It was good. So it's more she's the boss and I'm the coach. We have a good little relationship going on with that. We work things out. Then I mentioned Adam and Amy already, so that brings us to the advisor side, or the licensed, the advisor side. It's the 4 of us there, and then I have 2 on the admin team. I've got Brianna, who is more what I call my front office manager admin position there. Looks after client scheduling, just the first point of contact. She's the first face, which is good because her face looks nicer than mine. And then I have Liza, who's our back office, and she does all the wrestling of the paper dragon with head office and making sure everything gets done from that perspective. So everyone has their own position with what happens, and it takes a village. Well, it takes a team, and that's the same approach that we've done to build what we have.
So, you've talked about the team, but is there a core principle that you wanted to impart at the beginning to ensure that they had what you wanted to do to super serve your clients? Was that a conscious effort on that part?
To have something in place as far as the vision of what
the vision of you. Obviously, you have a vision of what you wanted to do for your clients. So obviously, you want to make them money, but there also must be a Collin Prince.
I'll say this. Let me take a step back. Do I want to make them money? Yeah. More so, I want to provide peace of mind. Money is just an instrument. It's not something that. And that's really a question that I have with folks: is what do you want this money to do for you? That's the most important thing. And so to provide people with peace of mind, we go through a process. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it kind of fits with what we're talking about right now. We go through a process of what we call a discovery conversation, where we look at what are the things that are important to you? What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? What are some concerns that you have? So the more I understand about my client, then I know what I can deliver. what's going to bring value to what we do. And so it's not about the money. I've seen people who make great amount of money and they have nothing. I've seen people that make modest sums and they have much. What's the difference? So it's more about what you want your money to do for you and what sort of, how you want it to represent. So in some ways, I see some people who have amassed money and we have discussions about, well, how is our happy factor doing? Is it, it's not about money's doing great. I'm not worried about the money. How happy are we right now? What are we going to see happening? What do you want this to do? Tell me about your family. What's going on with the grandkids? If we're at that level, now we're starting to look at intergenerational pass down of wealth, but we want to be able to bring it to a point where you're enjoying life along the way.
It's hugely important, isn't it?
I think it is.
How?
I think it is.
How?
And that's
sometimes some people, they just do, and they forget that they should be enjoying the ride.
There's a life along the way. Yeah, exactly.
So for you talked earlier about the lowest hole for women, which intrigues me, but you also are very involved with youth. So where's that passion come from?
I think it started from when I was 12 years old. But we'll do a program. I've been invited to high schools a couple of times. They have a class called COM, Career and Life Management. I don't know if they still have it, but they did. And one of our clients is a teacher and was sort of part of organizing that for their class, and so brought me in to go and chat and just sharing some basic concepts, some money habits, some things that what are some of the fundamentals that will give them a foundation. And I sort of call it and I'm potentially trademarking this, so I don't know if I can say it out loud, but I've got a foundation for like a process of building a foundation for financial success. And I think it's very, very instrumental that train up a child in the way they should go, and then they get old, they don't depart from it. That sort of philosophy, and to instill some of those. And my kids will tell you, since the age of when they were old enough to walk, they could spout out a cash flow plan as much as they could say a nursery rhyme. So yeah, Money and Youth is another program that we support, and it'll be part of what we do with our clients when we're talking about the intergenerational aspect of money or of wealth transfer. It's more so looking at what values and what skills are at that level, because that's one of the biggest concerns that I've heard people tell me is they're concerned about leaving wealth to either their children or grandchildren, and I have a whole sort of philosophy that we work through on this because they're maybe, are they ready? Mm-hmm. And so I sometimes tell the story, and I said, well, let's look at it from the perspective of instead of a bag of money, what if it was a sack of grain? What would you do if we plunked down a sack of grain in front of you? Would you eat the grain or would you plant it? What would you want to do with it? And so we sort of have some of these conversations that help shift perspective and give some paradigm perspectives as well. So it's some interesting conversations, and it's sometimes, a lot of time I find surprising, a lot of time people don't even have these conversations amongst themselves and their own family, but if we start the conversation, then it has a place to continue to go.
Do you find youth, or many young people, and not just youth actually, intimidated by this, by what you do? They think maybe they don't have enough money to come in and start to invest, but what do you say to them? So again, this comes back to beliefs. With that aspect. So if we'll work with family members that are part of our client base from that perspective. So it's not about how much money the grandchildren may have, so to speak. It's looking at the whole family unit, and we want to make sure that things get passed on efficiently that way. But it's more a passion for me that young people know what to do. And I keep hearing all the time, and of course I'm so far removed from the education system today, but I keep hearing all the time people saying, well, they should be teaching this in high school and so on. I say, well, if it's people like us that get to teach these things, as long as you learn the basics of it and how to utilize it so you're empowered, and that's the position I like to put, have conversations with people, is to be empowered so that you feel you're in control of your finances instead of your financial picture being dominating you. And so again, that's sort of a process and journey that we go through. You were talking earlier about checking in on the happiness of your clients, but the happy factor. But for you, outside of the business, I know there's things, you're into cars, you're into fitness, that's needed too, isn't it?
Balance, right?
Balance,
My wife keeps reminding me I need balance, and she's there to nudge me in that direction. So cars have been a passion for, I think boys in general play with cars. It's just a thing, and I've been kind of enthralled. I'm the youngest of 9. I have 3 other brothers, and so cars is not something foreign from that perspective. We've always had cars and working on things like that. So yeah, it's a passion. I would volunteer at a Father's Day car show for. I was kind of doing it for about 20 years, and really enjoying that. So cars have been something. If I'm not looking at financial charts, I'm probably looking at cars.
Okay. Do you have a classic car?
I don't have the one. I have a list. I have a goal. I have a list. So when certain things happen, there's a car I've already named it as Veronica. I know exactly what it's going to be, and one day Veronica will come home. So.
Veronica, I love it.
I have a Betty already, so this is the...
Oh, and what's Betty?
Betty is my SUV, so Betty's there. She's the reliable one.
Betty's the reliable one.
Exactly, always there.
That's
you can
my
always
mom's
depend
name.
on.
She was reliable.
See, there you go. Well, in the Archie comics book, right?
Yeah, totally. Your favorite quote is from Charles R. Swindoll. Life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. So with that philosophy, how does that impact your approach to challenges, both professionally and personally?
So I was fortunate to have learned that quote very young in my life. And I would say it's something that I rely on very regularly. The same thing can happen, same event can happen to 2 different people at the exact same time. Well, what they choose to do with it will make the impact in their life. So it's not the event, it's what they decide. And so in the context of it, why, to say, oh, life is what happens. No, it's 10%. The 90% is how you choose to react to it. The 90% is the bigger part. The bigger part of life, you control. You can't control circumstances. You can't control things that'll happen, but you can control how you react to it. So from a even if we're talking from a market, the market does what the market does, right? So how you react when the market goes down, some people, oh my gosh, what's going on? Other people say, hey, right on, this is a sale, right? It's how you react to it will determine what will happen later on in life. And just with everything that takes place, good, bad, indifferent, what have you, it's the reaction that happens. So that is and again, if you were talking to my kids, they would say, yeah, I know it's Charles Swindoll who says it, but my kids think it's me who invented that.
Take it.
So there's that one, and the other one that there's a few other Collinisms that's one of them. The other one is if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And so I look at that from the context of if you want the output to be different, you need to make different decisions. And those have been 2 principles whenever making changes in the business, changing things in life. I look at it from that context as to what do we want the outcome to be? Okay, what do we need to do in order to make that happen?
As we close out the show, if the listeners, viewers want to improve their financial health, what final piece of advice would you offer?
I would say the most important thing is make sure you're deal with a team. It doesn't cost any more to deal with a team versus an individual, but deal with a professional team of advisors. And again, Prowse Chowne, an excellent organization that deals with professionals, right? So those that deal with professionals, I think, will have better outcomes, make better decisions, have overall more balance in life. Delegate those things that you're not. I use the analogy of a car. I have an automatic transmission. I know what it does. I don't know how to fix it. I'll take it to someone who does. In the same way, financially, legally, tax-wise, accountant, all these things. Deal with a professional, and more so, deal with a team of professionals that has all the resources in one place to be able to do the things that need to be done for what you want to have.
Wrapping up this episode, we're reminded that entrepreneurship is a path filled with learning and growth. A big thanks to our presenting sponsor, Prowse Chowne. Do consider them in the near future, whether it's advice on commercial transactions, protecting your intellectual property, navigating employment law. Prowse Chowne has the expertise to guide you. Here's to your success and the journey ahead. We thank you for tuning into Early Days, and Collin, thank you. This has been incredible.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
This series is proudly produced by the team at Road 55. Road 55 creates content that connects. For more information, visit our website at road55.ca.